I don't think when we woke up this morning, we were going to see the type of drama we experienced today. And we can see Tesla stock is down roughly 14% on the day. There are some updates here that maybe might be bullish. But for those that have been sleeping under a rock lately, don't do that. But if you have, some interesting things happen, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. Broadcom also reported earnings. AMD made another acquisition that I thought was pretty interesting. Some of our semiconductor and AI stocks took quite a hit. We can see Coreweave was down 17%, and some other updates impacting the overall space. So let's get started with today's episode. All right, so first let's start off with Tesla, right? So Tesla was down about 14%. For those that don't know what happened, Elon and Trump pretty much went at it. And when you're in a relationship and you break up, there are certain things, no matter how the breakup is, that you don't say. Well, I think that's what happened today. You say a lot of things in this breakup that you shouldn't have said. And it's a question of how it's going to go moving forward. Now, it has created a lot of volatility in the overall market. And one of the biggest volatilities is here on Tesla, where the stock was down roughly 14%. But I do believe that there is the probability that if things continue to go bad with this relationship of Trump and Elon, that it could create some more volatility outside of Tesla into other stocks, and especially the tech market in general. Now, on the bright side, though, we do see that earlier this morning and 31 minutes ago, Elon responded when I'm recording this video. Bill Ackman said, "I support both Trump and Elon, and they should make peace for the benefit of our great country." And Elon responded, "You're not wrong." So the market is kind of seeing that maybe a little bit as a bullish sentiment, that there might be some truth. Again, certain things were said that if it was a breakup, you just don't come out of it, right? But it's still, we can see Tesla overnight here on Robinhood. And remember, this is very, very low volume. So just take it with a grain of salt. But Tesla on overnight does show about a 3.4% up. So the market is somewhat bullish about maybe the breakup, on again, off again, on again. And right now it seems like we're on again here. So, I mean, interesting. Definitely something to kind of keep a closer eye on for the volatility of the space. Now, the next thing I want to take a closer look at is Broadcom. So Broadcom reported earnings, and you might think earnings were bad. The stock was down roughly 4% on the day, sitting at about $250. But if you are a Broadcom investor, those were prices that we actually saw just a few days ago. I think on Tuesday or late Monday, it was sitting at $250. So I think this stock was kind of priced to perfection. We actually talked about it in the stream earlier this morning with Neo, and for the stock to only be down 4%, I wouldn't say it actually probably met a lot of the expectations, and we're going to look at that. So here, today's episode is actually sponsored by FinChat, and FinChat is my go-to platform here. I do have a promotional code down below where you get 2 weeks free, where you don't have to put in a credit card or anything. And you also get 15% off. And you get a lot of great things. I look at all the chartings here, and the AI summary is probably one of my favorite things. So here I'm going to showcase that for Broadcom, we already have the earnings transcript of this recent quarter here from Broadcom. And I want to learn more about the ASIC and the GPU market. So I was like, can you give me a descriptive summary about the ASIC and overall market? And I got some great information here. So we do see that the ASIC custom and chip market is still growing dramatically. So Broadcom's Q2 results highlighted this trend, where revenue reached over $4.4 billion, so 46% year-over-year growth. And they do expect for the next quarter to continue with the project of 60% year-over-year growth increase in AI semiconductor revenue for Q3, reaching $5.1 billion. So obviously the customers here are like your Google TPUs. So we are seeing a nice growth on the AI accelerator side for Broadcom. Now, I'm going to say whatever I see here for Broadcom is not necessarily a bearish case for Nvidia. I do believe this market is so big that both can grow, but we do see that a crucial aspect of this market is the shift towards inference, and this is something that we have heard dramatically from Nvidia. They also mentioned that hyperscale customers are doubling down on inference to monetize their AI platforms. potentially accelerating XPU demand in later half of 2026. And Broadcom anticipates its fiscal year 2025 growth rate of AI semiconductor revenue to sustain in its fiscal year of 2026. And they do mention that the company is working with 3 customers for our prospect to deploy custom AI accelerators, expecting at least 3 customers to each deploy 1 million AI accelerator clusters in 2027. Now, again, this is very bullish in my opinion for Broadcom in general, right? You kind of see this demand of ASIC solution. And I've talked about it in the past, right? I do believe ASICs will continue. I still believe GPUs are going to be the dominant player. And if you're seeing 1 million AI accelerator clusters of ASIC, you're definitely going to see the same thing for Nvidia. Now, I talked about kind of their new Tomahawk 6. We do see that for their AI revenue, it's also key Ethernet-based solutions. So Broadcom is definitely a networking solution. A key driver representing 40% of Broadcom's AI revenue is Ethernet-based solutions. And like we saw, the new Tomahawk is going to allow that. So overall, ASIC and AI demand is pretty strong for Broadcom. So even though the stock is down, being down 4.2%, I think investors are still pretty excited for the long-term tailwinds. Now, again, seeing those 1 million clusters definitely got me excited for a company like Nvidia. I actually didn't see Nvidia was down roughly 0.76%. I don't think the market cares too much about the overall Broadcom earnings. I think there's just a lot of volatility happening in the space. But again, check out FinChat. The link is down below, finchat.io/Jose. Now, the next topic I want to take a closer look at is Micron Technologies. Micron actually had a really great day today. The stock was up nearly 3% on the day. It was actually a little bit higher on the day. And there are a few reasons. The first thing that we're going to see is there was an analyst that did increase their price target. So Mizuho just raised his price target on Micron, and they do expect kind of the HBM market and the AI market to continue to benefit. This is definitely one of the biggest bullish case for Micron, so I definitely see that. Now, there is another thing. I do follow a few kind of semiconductor people here on X, and there is someone who tends to share a lot of rumors and reports happening. We can see that they mentioned that UBS has said that Samsung's HBM3E 12 high NVIDIA certification has been delayed to Q4 of 2025. And this benefits dramatically to Micron, right? Because Micron is not going to have as much competition. They're still just going to have SK Hynix. So Samsung lagging in this space, if true, can definitely continue to help Micron in the long term of things with this HBM market. So those are rumors. I try to look online to confirm it, but usually this person does have a lot of insight in the semiconductor space. Now, I want to shift gears a little bit into NVIDIA, and we have a lot of things to cover still. But for NVIDIA, there is this report that China's tech giants aren't buying Huawei's chips due to overheating issues and NVIDIA's existing ecosystem lock-in via CUDA. So this is actually pretty interesting, right? Because it depends on what day, what week we're listening to news. Some days we're saying that Huawei is winning dramatically. Then there's other reports like this that say the other end. So based on the information, it's now reporting that China's tech giants, including TikTok's, ByteDance, Alibaba, and Tencent, have yet to order Huawei's AI chips in large quantities. There are many reasons. The first reason we see here is China just has invested a lot of into NVIDIA's CUDA, so it's pretty hard to kind of break out of that investment, and it will take significant investment and time to switch over. Second, most of these Chinese largest tech companies are competitors of Huawei, and as such feel reluctant to go all in on their competitors' offering. Third, there are reports that Huawei's 910C chips suffer from periodic overheating issues, which obviously would impact the reliability. Fourth, many of these China largest tech companies have stashed a nice amount of GPUs over the years, so the inventory has yet to run out. And finally, the United States government has kind of created this kind of guidance to not use Huawei chips. And obviously, a lot of these companies are Chinese players, but they're also global players as well. So I don't think they want to mess with that. So these are the 5 reasons why maybe Huawei is not truly winning in China. But again, we hear about different news all over the place, and it depends on what day of the week you're listening to. So I think there's a little truth to both, right? There's definitely some strength coming out from Huawei. We've heard it from Jensen itself, but I also believe there's a lot of hurdles that Huawei needs to go through as well. Now, this one is actually a bit interesting. So there are reports, according to Reuters, that U.S. Secretary of Commerce states on Wednesday that the president's administration is revisiting certain semiconductor grants issued under the President Joe Biden, indicating that some of the awards could be withdrawn. The first thing that many people think of is obviously the CHIPS Act. So this could create some pressure for maybe some semiconductor manufacturing companies. It would definitely suck, as I did believe the CHIPS Act in general was very bullish for the United States and for the semiconductor industry here. So if we do see kind of more of a retractment or new updates about this, I don't think this is the first time we've heard about this. We've kind of heard about this previously, about maybe CHIPS Act eventually going away. But if it does happen, I do believe that could create a nice short-term negative pressure on certain semiconductor companies. Next, I want to take a closer look at AMD. AMD was down roughly 2.5%, and it is down after hours. AMD actually made an acquisition today. So Untether AI Corporation has entered into a transaction with AMD. As a result of the transaction, Untether AI will no longer be supplying or supporting its overall products. This is wild, right? How do you get an acquisition and kind of stop all your main products? It seems like maybe this company might have something interesting in the AI space that AMD wants, but they don't want the full products. For those that are not familiar with Untether, they are a company that, from the looks of it, if we look at their products, made kind of software, first made AI inferencing cards. And they're really kind of focusing on both the edge and the data center market. So 2 interesting markets that AMD is playing in, especially with the AI space. They have those solutions, right? And then they have the software behind it. So my question is, where or from what are they winning with this acquisition? AMD has done a lot of acquisitions in the past, and it seems like they're not stopping. But are they gaining more? They're gaining a great talent with some great engineers. They're gaining most likely some software expertise. These companies were great for inferencing based on what this company was selling. So there has to be something that AMD is gaining out of this. Unfortunately, we haven't heard the actual answer just yet. Now, I want to kind of just look at some price points. Coreweave was down about 17% today. This is a stock that I've been talking about where I don't mind dollar cost averaging, and this is the reason. I do believe days like this can continue. It doesn't mean this is the top yet, but I'm more happily already willing to sell a nice amount of my position, which I have been dollar cost averaging out, as the company has more than 2-3x from my initial buy. Now, it does seem like a lot of the money from Coreweave might be going to Nebius right now. We can see Nebius was actually up 17% on the day. I don't know how long this is going to happen, but it does seem like Nebius did get some great traction. They did get a kind of like a price target increase. I think we're shifting the money a little bit, and I think we're going to go through this back and forth for some time. I'm not into Nebius. I'm not buying at these levels. I'm not buying Coreweave even after that drop either. So these are 2 stocks that I was happy to add. Well, Coreweave I was happy to add in the April's low, but not adding much, or not adding right now. Applied Digital also had a crazy day. I mean, the stock was up a nice amount today, and we can see now from its overall peak was down about 14%. So massive move. I mean, Applied Digital is kind of, in my opinion, riding that coat wave of Coreweave right now. So I do believe for the foreseeable future, it might kind of trend with Coreweave's movement. But again, not adding Applied Digital. But if there was one of the 3 that I wouldn't mind, I think maybe Applied Digital is one I wouldn't mind looking at a little bit more at these price points, even though it has rallied up. Some other stocks, Nvidia's was down about 10%. I still owe you a Nvidia's episode. I did look and read their overall presentation that they did earlier this week. A lot of other semiconductor stocks were down. Astera Labs was down 4.7%, and Credo was down roughly 4.5%. So these are a lot of AI companies. We can see there is maybe not too much excitement on AI growth and those stocks that may have rallied a nice amount in the past month. And we might just be seeing a little bit of a cooling present right now. So pretty excited overall long term for the semiconductor space. I do believe AMD's next week is going to be interesting. Broadcom had great earnings and a lot of drama happening in this space. So take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.